Today, we're going to be going over sitemaps and how to plan a sitemap for a successful website project. Now, if you're not too sure what a sitemap is essentially the breakdown of pages that you have on a website. So let's check it out. So if I go over to a website and I'm just going to pick, for example, a recruitment agency in Milton Keynes. Just going to find a recruitment agency business, and then I come across, let's go on to these guys here and take a look at their website. What we'll find is that within the header section, within the navigational system, you're going to see a breakdown of links. So what we're looking at here, we can see home, about us, browse vacancies, send CV, employers, candidates, and contact. Now, typically, a sitemap, which is quite traditional, will be stuff like home, about, services, contact, blog, and something around that kind of realm. Now, when you get into more specific websites, like a recruitment agency website, it's quite common for them to have an employers tab and a candidates tab. So you need to always look at reference websites before deciding what you want the sitemap to be about, or what kind of website you're building a sitemap for, because what you'll notice is that there will be common trends that you should really be recommending to your client, and there's going to be common pages that you should typically be rolling out across the board for any of your clients that are within that same niche, like a recruitment agency, for example. Another example could be a solicitors. So if we type in solicitors Milton Keynes and we just have a quick look on the first link here. So that's a bad reference because that's a Google business, Google local services listing. So let's check this out. So this one's a little bit more generic. So we've got Franklin Solicitors here. They have an About Us page, a People page, Careers page, For You, Business, Insights, Contact Us. So it's a little bit more generic. It's not like really focused on solicitors, for example. And then we'll check out one more, which will be a plumbing business. So let's scroll down. Let's go on to these guys. And what you can see here is now they have a little bit more of a niche sitemaps. They've got a heating tab for all of their heating services, plumbing for their plumbing services, electrical services, renewables, cover plans, boiler finance, gallery. And then they've got Contact Us. So they're missing a couple of the most traditional ones. Now, there's no right or wrong way of doing this, because you might look at this site and go, but loads of other websites have About Us within the navigational system, within their sitemap, within their navbar. But why do these guys not have that? Now, it might just be because they've realized that their customers typically, they don't care about the company. They just want to find the service that they're looking for. So it just makes way more sense for them to maybe move the About Us link to perhaps the footer, or maybe it's just not even inside the sitemap at all. Now, another really good thing that you should keep in mind is that when you're looking at reviewing sitemaps before building your own or for a client, what you can do is, if the website's built in WordPress, sometimes you can go to /sitemap.xml. And what it will do is it will redirect you to this page like what we're looking at here. And it says XML sitemap, and it's built by Yoast. Now, Yoast is a plugin that we use inside of a WordPress website. So we're going to be going over that further along in the videos. We've got a piece of content on that inside of the agenda. And inside that video, you'll learn much more about Yoast, what you can do with it. But Yoast essentially will create a sitemap for your website. And so most WordPress websites use Yoast. So if you're looking at local business or small to medium business, and they're built on WordPress, which 99% of them are, you can probably find their sitemap this way. Now, the sitemap and the navigational system are different. They're not always exactly the same thing, because you might only have a few links within your main navigation and then have another set of links within your footer. And there could be loads of pages that are within your sitemap which aren't actually found within the navigational system. For example, a thank you page. When you fill out a form on a website and it takes you to a thank you page, that page won't necessarily be within a navigation like the header or the footer menus. So you need to, when you're looking at planning a sitemap, it's really good if you can find the actual sitemap for a website. But failing that, it's still fine just to look at the actual navigational systems like the header and the footer. And that will give you a pretty good idea. And then when you're looking at the sitemap, or when you're talking through the sitemap with your customer, at that point, other pages might become apparent. Now, a thank you page, for example, is not always necessary. So there's pages like that that might only be unique to you, or might only be unique to your customer, because the thing is a lot of websites, they won't even have a thank you page. A lot of them will also just have, for example, a thank you notice which appears once you fill out that form. So enough talking about the theory behind a sitemap. Let's actually plan one. So if we take a look at the page sitemap, we can see they've got loads of pages here. They've got tons of pages. They've got 51 URLs. Now, that is a lot of pages. And what we can see here is they've got loads of landing pages. They've got bathrooms, Kettering, bathrooms, Leighton Buzzard, bathrooms, Northampton, plumber, Northampton, plumber, Corby, so on, so on. Now, these pages are what we call SEO landing pages. And they've built these pages because they want to rank for that keyword. They want to rank for plumber, Corby. So they've built a whole page talking about that keyword and location. Now, this I would not include with your sitemap planning, because this is SEO, this is additional. If you're building a website that's 50 pages, you're going to be charging a lot more money because the scope of work does go up quite a lot. However, I say that the scope of work doesn't actually change that much, because once you've created one SEO landing page, you can just duplicate and swap out a couple of content blocks. So it's actually quite easy to build sitemaps, but to build out landing pages, sorry. But you do not want to be portraying that to your customer because it might end up taking long, and you don't want them to have a true perception over your work, because it will never really be a true perception. They won't see all of the details that go in. So we can see here that they've got quite an extensive sitemap. Now, the core pages, they've got a blog, careers, they've got the home page, they've got their actual service pages, they've got a new boiler quote page. They've got all of these things in here. So you can just take one look at this, and then you can quite easily create a sitemap for your customer. So if you want to create a sitemap, I recommend just keeping it easy. Do it in a Google Doc along with all of your other meeting notes. So when you meet with a customer, have a Google Doc ready, and just basically type in all of the notes from the meeting. So you might be asking them questions, what websites have they seen that they like the look of? You'll note them down there. Is there any pages that they specifically want? It might be like a custom quoting page, for example. And they'll tell you this information and the answers to your questions, and you'll note that down within there. So it might just make sense just to keep it simple and keep your sitemap within a Google Doc. However, if you would like to take it to the next level, you can use a tool called SlickPlan. Now, SlickPlan is literally a sitemap planning tool, and you can go in there, you can create a free account, you can also create a paid account, and once you've got that, you can build a project. Within the project, you can then just add your pages. So let's go ahead now and let's make a sitemap for a recruitment company. So I'm going to have a look at this one. So they've got send CV, which makes sense. They've got an employers section and a candidate section, which makes sense, along with the other traditional pages. Now, you don't want to spend too long doing this, because this is not a very rewarding task. If they're paying a lot of money, then it's important that you get it right. But don't kill yourself over creating a sitemap. It should really take you 2 to 3 minutes, and then the rest is just in discussion. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to have an About Us page. And then next to the About Us page, I'm going to have a candidates section. I'm then going to have a employee. I'm going to call it clients, actually, a client section. And if you don't know, basically a recruitment agency, they have 2 types of people that they work with. They work with candidates, and then they work with clients. Clients are people that will come to them and say, I need to hire 10 staff. And then the candidates are the people that will become that 10 staff. Just in case you're a little bit confused about why I've decided to put that there. So we've got an About Us, a candidates, a clients page. I'm also going to do a case studies page, because I think that might be quite relevant. And I know from my own personal experience that lots of other recruitment agency websites, they will have a case study section. And looking back on this, they've got like a send CV. Now, personally, that would make sense going under candidates, but they've put that link into the main navigational system because it might be that a candidate doesn't want to go that far to look there. They just want to literally see send CV and jump on that. So it does make sense, but there's no right or wrong way of doing this. So we'll go send CV in there. We could also do available jobs. And that makes sense to go under there. Then under clients, we can just have a look at their clients page. So under their employers page, what are we working with here? Hire, why choose us? Sectors, that's quite a good one actually. So we could definitely do that. So we could come under here and do sectors. We could then do submit a job. So they can send us a job. And that's pretty much all that this website has in their sitemap. They don't have anything else that's too intensive. So I'm going to go ahead and look at another recruitment agency website. Robert Half are massive. They're like a global player, so their sitemap won't be a good representation. So here we go, find jobs, candidates, employers, about us, blog, contact. So we could have a blog in there as well. So let's add a blog, and then we'll just wrap it up by putting on there a contact page. Now you don't want to go too over the top. You don't want to be creating pages for the sake of it, because that's just unnecessary. And if a client really wants a specific page on their website, they can request that from you. Then inside the footer, we'll have things like privacy policy, we'll have a cookie policy. We could, if we wanted to, have an accessibility policy, which is basically just going to be like a ChatGPT content splurged out page that will just tell people how to access and use the website in the correct way. And if they struggle with reading, for example, what they can do on the website to digest the information a little bit easier for them. So that is pretty much our sitemap in a nutshell. We've got a 14-page sitemap here. It doesn't need to be too complicated. We've reviewed a few reference websites. We've taken some ideas. We've also used our brain, and now we're ready to present the sitemap to the customer. And that is how you plan a sitemap.